Hey there, I'm Brendan, and working at a startup has gotten me used to wearing a lot of different hats. At the moment, as I make this demo video, I have on the marketing hat. But earlier today, as I was looking for new clients for us, I had on my sales hat. And after I'm done with this video, I'm going to go help somebody get started using fynk for the first time, which means putting on my success hat. Now, startup leaders know this all the better, because in addition to all those customer-facing hats, they also need to wear critical internal-facing hats like finance, operations, legal, and HR. And when admin work piles up from all of these different responsibilities, it becomes challenging to find space for the things that will really lead to growth in your business. Defining your strategy, iterating on it, building a culture, enforcing that culture, and fundraising. That's why we set out to build fynk, to help you spend less time wearing some of those admin hats and doing that work so you can focus on what will actually make a difference for your business. And today, we're going to look at 4 specific ways that fynk can help you do just that. So, if you'll allow me, I will take off that marketing hat and step into your shoes, wearing, to start, the finance hat. Now, as you well know, these days just about every vendor contract is some sort of subscription, which usually means there's some language in the contract that says, if you don't let us know more than 7, 30, or even 90 days before the end of this contract that you want to cancel, then you're going to pay us again. And with that variation in the notice periods and the sheer number of vendors that most startups have, how are you ever going to keep track? Well, fynk has the solution. You open up fynk and take a look at our dashboard. You'll see that fynk tracks the dates across all of your contracts and all different dates, start dates, notice dates, end dates, and renewal dates. Filter this down to just our vendors because that's a little bit of noise, and we can see exactly when we need to give notice to our vendors in order to cancel that contract, if that's something that we'd like to do. As the dates approach, fynk will send you a reminder letting you know that this document is either going to enter its notice period soon or it's going to expire soon. And again, this happens before the date hits, which gives you the time you need to make a decision. Are we happy with this vendor? Are we happy with the terms that we have with this vendor? Do we need to cancel? Do we need to renegotiate? Do we need to upgrade? Either way, you have the information and the time you need to make that decision because fynk has given you that advance notice without forcing you to keep an eye on it manually, set reminders in your own calendar. Fynk will do it all for you. Now, how do we go about doing that? Well, for any agreement that you upload into fynk, like, for example, most of your vendor agreements, fynk will scan the contract language to pull out key information, like those critical dates. You see here, in this contract, we have found that there's a notice period, there's a start date, and an end date. And with that information, then fynk also calculates automatically what is going to be the cancellation notice date so that it can send you that reminder. So as you see, fynk's reminders give you the advance notice you need to avoid surprise renewals and renegotiate better terms. And all of that, in turn, helps you maximize your free cash flow so that you have more money to invest in forward-leaning growth. So now that fynk's reminders have helped me maximize my free cash flow, I'm able to take off my finance hat and switch to my operations hat. Now, day-to-day running of any company involves answering a lot of questions about the various contracts that you have. These questions can come from anywhere: sales, HR, an auditor, IT, investors, and they can want to know any number of things about your contracts. Now, the old way to get these questions answered would be to go look in some drive somewhere. Hopefully, it's nicely organized with a good folder structure, and documents have reasonable names, but as we all know, they typically don't. And then once you've found the right document, you have to start reading. If it's a PDF, you might not have the ability to do a find and search for the language, and you might not know what the right term you need to search for is. But with fynk, we do things a little bit differently. fynk's documents list shows you all of the contracts that you have in your account. Our bookmarks help you narrow down the list to just the relevant ones. Let's say that an investor has asked us about all of the client contracts that have payment terms greater than 60 days. You can jump to our license agreements, and if we need to know just about terms longer than 60, we can sort on the payment terms, and this will show us, boom, we have these 3 contracts, 90-day terms, one of which is expired. So the answer for our investor is 2. So as you see, fynk's contract lookup helps you answer questions quickly about old contracts, letting you focus on taking action based on the information contained in the contract, as opposed to spending all that time looking for it. So now that fynk's contract lookup has helped me take action on the information contained in our old contracts, I'm able to take off that ops hat and switch into growth mode. Now, growing a company requires a lot of agreements. You need contracts for your business partners and business associates. You need something for all of the new staff that you're hiring as you look to scale. And of course, you need to enter agreements with your clients who are providing the revenue that you're ultimately aiming to grow. And you want all of this to be done quickly, but speed in contracting often used to create additional risk. In the old days, you might create a Word document with a templated language for each of these types of agreements. But if you gave these agreements to your customer and partner-facing teams or your recruiters, they would need to manually find in the places that they need to fill in contract-specific information. And if they're under pressure to hit certain goals, they have a bit of an incentive to potentially change some of the language to get an agreement done if the other party isn't interested. Making those changes could create additional risk, but that's not how it happens in fynk. When a member of, for example, your sales team opens fynk, they'll have the ability to create new contracts, but only from predefined, approved, templated language. Then they can use our CRM integrations to pull data into that contract, so they don't have to enter it manually. If they need to update any of the values, they can do that, and fynk will automatically change the values everywhere it occurs in the text. Then, in just a matter of seconds, it's ready to review and move forward into signing. But if we have concerns or want to put in place additional governance, we can add checkpoints to make sure that before any contract goes to a client, it gets approved by somebody from, for example, legal, finance, or the leadership team. So, as you see, fynk's contract templates and integrations give your team the power to quickly create and send contracts to clients, customers, and new employees without generating unnecessary risks. This, in turn, lets you scale your business without creating unnecessary bottlenecks. So with fynk helping me minimize the admin work required behind growth, I'm able to take that hat off and focus on the legal hat. Now, somebody with signing authority at my company, I know that creates a huge responsibility. But at the same time, the majority of the language in the majority of the contracts we see is generally reasonable and entirely unobjectionable. But at the same time, for a small percentage of the language and a small percentage of the contracts, there are going to be issues. And how can I know which contracts have those problems and which language in those contracts are the problems without reading through all of them one at a time? Well, once again, fynk has the answer. With custom playbooks aligned to your internal rules, fynk is able to scan any contract uploaded to identify, does it match with our requirements? Is this something we can sign, or do we need to take a closer look? For each specific check, fynk gives a decision, a rationale for that decision, and a quote from the contract language, including a citation that can bring you right to the actual text. In this way, we're able to flag what needs to be reviewed and what language is okay. So fynk's review identifies what language in a contract is acceptable and what problems need a closer look, saving you the time that you would spend in the early mornings or late evenings, or saving the time that your outside counsel would spend looking through those agreements for you at the rates that they charge. In this way, instead, you can focus just on the problematic language. So with fynk cutting down on the admin work, you're able to spend less time wearing those additional hats like finance, ops, growth, and yes, even legal. And when you're able to take all of those off, that lets you focus more on your company and things that will drive growth, like strategy, culture, and fundraising. And who knows, maybe you'll save so much time that for a long weekend or a nice afternoon, you're even able to take off the company hat and switch into vacation mode. What do you think? Sounds pretty great.